Mr. Earl?
Okey-dokey. Good evening. I hereby announce that pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the notice which was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall, and filed in the Township Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2024. Mayor Impreveduto?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Ms. LaMountain?
Here.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Here.
Mr. Romano?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Next would be the approval of minutes for the December 12th, 2023 executive and public sessions that were forwarded to the Township Committee for review previously.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
You can
abstain.
Yep.
You weren't here.
Prior to being on the TC.
Mayor Impreveduto?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The minutes have been successfully passed.
Thank you. Folks, while we're here, I just want to make a little bit of an announcement to everybody, given some recent developments as it relates to Crawford Hill. This will go into the record today. There'll be a release that goes out as well to the community. Today is a day of mixed emotions for us. On the one hand, we're excited to announce that the township filed a declaration of taking in Superior Court earlier today. This means that Holmdel has officially acquired the upper 35 acres of the Crawford Hill property, and with it, Holmdel Township now officially owns the historic horn antenna. At the same time, as we gather to celebrate Holmdel's ownership of the historic horn antenna, we must also acknowledge the passing of Dr. Arno Penzias, one of the men who, in the words of the New York Times, along with Dr. Robert Wilson, discovered cosmic microwave background radiation, remnants of an explosion that gave birth to the universe nearly 14 billion years ago. That explosion, known as the Big Bang, is now the widely accepted explanation for the origin and evolution of the universe. And that discovery, as we all know, happened right here in Holmdel. Holmdel and the scientific community owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Penzias. Our condolences go out to his family and all those touched by his brilliance. Our town has always struck a delicate balance between two sometimes conflicting ideologies. Innovation, the persistent pursuit of knowledge, advancement, new frontiers, then tempered by the unyielding desire to maintain open space, preserve land, and stay rooted in the rich agricultural history of our town. Today is a day that I'm proud to say in which we've honored both of those traditions in a way that generations of Holmdel residents can celebrate for decades, if not centuries. In that spirit, tonight, I am excited to announce that Holmdel will be preserving Crawford Hill as a park that will be named after Holmdel's own Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Robert Wilson. To memorialize this well-deserved naming, we will be introducing an ordinance later on this evening. When I spoke to Dr. Wilson this morning, he said he was honored by our offer to name the park after him, and gladly accepted. Unfortunately, he could not be here tonight, but we will have a ribbon cutting likely sometime in the spring, possibly March, where we can all gather and celebrate what's to come. I would be remiss if I did not thank Rakesh Antala of Crawford Hill Holdings for his partnership on this effort, as well as former mayor and current committeeman DJ Lucarelli, who helped put the wheels of this effort in motion last year. With the support of Deputy Mayor Foster, Committeewoman LaMountain, and Committeeman Romano, we have managed to simultaneously honor our past, present, and future. The Holmdel Horn Antenna serves as a reminder of the collaborative efforts that drive scientific progress. It stands as a testament to the power of teamwork and the collective pursuit of truth. As we strive to preserve this beacon of scientific history, let us also commit ourselves to fostering environments that encourage collaboration and the free exchange of ideas. In the face of technological advancements and evolving landscapes, it's our responsibility to ensure that future generations have the opportunity to marvel at the Holmdel Horn Antenna and appreciate the breakthroughs it facilitated. This preservation effort is an investment in the educational enrichment of our communities and a celebration of the human spirit's quest for understanding. Now and forever, people of all ages will be able to stand atop the highest point in all of Monmouth County, dream of the never-ending cosmos, and reach for the stars. So we are proud to make that announcement this evening, and to formally establish Dr. Robert Wilson Park, I would like to propose a motion to introduce an ordinance amending Chapter 13, titled Parks and Recreational Facilities, to establish Dr. Robert Wilson Park, comprised of Block 27, Lots 6 and 6.01 in the Township of Holmdel. I think we just need a second, is that correct?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain?
Absolutely.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-04 will be set for public hearing and for February 13th and published in the Asbury Park Press.
Thank you, Wendy. Can only go downhill from here, folks. That was a fun one. So as we move on to the consent agenda, I think the first thing I want to do is we have, which one is it? Oh, the ad hoc. 2024-58. First of all, I want to thank the community. We received a great many emails, texts, phone calls, follow-ups on folks that wanted to join the ad hoc committee. We appreciate everybody's interest. We had a real focus on trying to get as many different or newer voices involved as possible, as well as constituents that are more directly impacted by what will happen ultimately at Vonage. So we tried to put together a healthy mix. We met as a committee, and we are going to, once I find the sheet, read off the members. One moment, please. So the new members of the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee are Richard Nietzsche, NICI, Samantha Polavina, Tom Santora, Jay Yanello, Ian Lavulas, Frank Cavino, and Dana Arnone. I will serve as the liaison from the Township Committee, and we've asked Eric Silvergold, the chair of our Finance Committee, to also serve as well so that we keep the Economic Development and Finance Committees aligned with one another. So now that we've established that, I guess we can move on to consent. Oh, public comment first. I apologize. Public comments. Oh, anybody have anything to say? Mr. Yanello?
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. Thank you for having me on it. I look forward to representing the constituents in South Holmdel along the corridor of Main Street that would be directly most affected by whatever happens there. So thank you very much.
Appreciate your interest. Anybody else have anything to say on any of the consent agenda items before we move forward? Looks like we can close up public comment, Wendy. Motion to approve consent.
Moved. Second.
Roll call. Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto.
Yes.
Okay, resolutions 2024-42 through 2024-58 have been successfully passed. Next on the agenda is introduction of ordinances. Ordinance 2024-01 is an ordinance amending Chapter 13 Parks and Recreational Facilities, Section 13-3 Swim Center, Section 13-3.2 Fees and Charges of the Code of the Township of Holmdel. The motion would be to adopt on first reading, publish in the Asbury Park Press, and set the public hearing for February 13th, 2024.
Motion?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto.
Yes.
Okay, 2024-01 will be set for public hearing. The next introduction is ordinance 2024-02, which is an ordinance revising section 30-18.1 titled Established Membership. The motion is to adopt on first reading, publish in the Asbury Park Press, and set the public hearing for February 13th, 2024.
Do we have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto.
Yes.
Okay, 2024-02 will be set for public hearing and advertised in the Asbury Park Press. The next ordinance is 2024-03, which is an ordinance amending Section 2.26.9 titled Special Duty Assignments. This motion is to adopt on first reading, publish in the Asbury Park Press, and set the public hearing for February 13th, 2024.
Do we have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Roll?
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto.
Yes.
Okay. 2024-03 will be set for public hearing. Thank you.
So now we're moving on to our public hearing for open space grant applications. Is that correct, Wendy?
That's correct, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Administrator, if you would take the lead on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Just by way of background, these are two grant applications to be funded through the New Jersey Green Acres program, which specifically funds acquisition, development of open space, recreation, and historic facilities. Our first public hearing is for a proposed improvement at Cross Farm Park. Specifically, these improvements are to replace an existing playground facility with a all-inclusive playground facility. There's a specific allotment as part of this year's Green Acres program that provides specific funding for these types of facilities and provides an enhanced grant match program. As I said, this is to replace an existing facility in essentially the same footprint as it currently exists. And we've identified the total cost for this installation to be $700,000, which includes not only the removal of the existing playground, as well as the installation of the new equipment, together with a synthetic turf surfacing, play-safe type of facility. As I said, the anticipated or estimated costs at this time are approximately $700,000. And I should mention for the record that we received no written comments regarding this proposed park improvement. Mayor, I'm happy to entertain any questions from the governing body, or if you wish to proceed directly to public comments on this proposed application.
I think just for clarification, for maybe just for me, this is the park that's really mostly pushed back towards the center of Cross Farm, correct? That sort of old swing set area that's existed there for quite some time.
That's correct.
Nope, we've discussed, I understand. Questions, comments before we go to public comment? Mr. Yanell?
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. I'm all for a new inclusive park there, playground. I'm just, and I've heard from other people, we're curious on the timing. This came within a week of the new rollover here. So was this in the works? Who did the engineering work? And like, did the recreation committee look at this and approve it? Like, this kind of came out of nowhere, so people are wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, this hit our desk, when we had our grant discussion. I mean, it was maybe a week after we got sworn in, so call it a week and a half ago or so. But Jay, I don't know, in terms of prior work done on this and leading up to it, if
Yeah,
there's anything.
in all candor, I would say that when we received notification of this grant opportunity, the recreation director as well as various staff looked at several options. And frankly, the Lab Park area was really next in line for a playground facility upgrade. But given the unique timing of this grant opportunity, which provides, as I said, an enhanced 75% match.
That was
for-
my next question, because the math didn't work with the 50. Okay.
for
Okay.
this type of facility, as well as the fact that, together with the fact, I should say, that the minimum grant request brought it to a level that far exceeded the need and capacity and equipment at Lab Park. So it was shifted to this, which also part of the discussion was that this is a more centrally located facility in terms of Cross Farm is one of our most popular parks as opposed to Lab, which is more of a neighborhood type of facility. To answer your second question, this was scheduled to be reviewed specifically at the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting last night, which has been rescheduled for next week.
So we're voting on it before that committee votes on it, or they looked at it, you said? And I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to understand, yeah. Okay.
That were all in the room together when we were making the decisions. Myself, deputy mayor, it was recreation director, public works. We had the appropriate folks in the room.
Yeah.
We had a discussion about trying to find a way to get this, to get this in front of the recreation committee, even so that they can issue a letter with their sort of advisory capacity on this.
Okay.
The timing just didn't work, but the recreation director was involved specifically, and he will go to the committee
So
with
the
it.
timing is because this grant has to be filed by a certain time. Is it as simple as that? Okay. Last comment. There's obviously a lot of sensitivity about turf at Cross Farm Park. We hope this isn't a Trojan horse. There is waterway nearby. There's concerns about degradation of turf. I just want to be on the record with that.
And there's, just so, it's a good question. I want to make sure I'm clear on it. Jay,
Okay.
when we say there's turf going there, it's no different than the turf in the front of the play area in the front.
That's correct, and unfortunately, that is the preferred term of art, but it really is I'll call it a safe play surface that is not subject to erosion. The alternative is either a sand-filled or a fiber material to provide the safe fall area for this type of equipment.
Yeah, there's just ongoing concerns of the degradation of this material right near the waterway that we go to drink, but thank you.
If there's no other public comment, we'll move on to our next item on the grant list.
And actually, Mayor, it may be, in terms of housekeeping, it may be easier if we authorize, or if the governing body authorizes the resolution at this time before we move on to the next grant application.
It would be for 2024-59, which is a resolution for the Green Acres application Jake's Law Playground funding.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it again, just make it four.
Thank you. Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2024-59 has been successfully passed. Thank you.
All right, so we're moving on to Crawford Hill.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The next Green Acres public hearing is on the proposed Crawford Hill Horn Antenna Park, soon to be known as the Dr. Wilson Park. I should mention for the record that as part of our public notice, written comments were solicited and invited, and we have received a number of written comments that have been distributed to the governing body this evening. Those comments will become part of our public record and public hearing, which is part of the process for submission of the application to the New Jersey Green Acres program. Let me emphasize that this park has been identified as the proposed park at Crawford Hill, home of the Holmdel horn antenna. Let me also emphasize that what is being presented is based on a preliminary concept plan. I don't think I can emphasize that enough, that it is a preliminary concept plan. Additionally, that this is, if I may refer to it as really a phase one development of the site. What we've identified as part of this application are those essential ingredients and improvements and upgrades to the existing facility to really give us a blank slate for future development. You will notice that the preliminary project budget identifies a number of components, including fencing and security that is specific to the historic horn antenna, together with improvements to the perimeter property fencing. As I think the governing body is aware, but the public, just to reemphasize, the township has acquired only a portion of this entire site. The remaining portion that fronts on Holmdel Road is the subject of a request for a blight study under the Redevelopment Act, and the future of that is unknown and uncertain at this time until the report is issued, the planning board reviews it, and an actual redevelopment plan is presented. In the interim, we do expect there to be some additional fencing that will be required. Also, one of the first items that was identified as part of the review of the site in reference to concern for existing trees that are in close proximity of the horn antenna itself, thereby presenting a potential damage with trees falling. So we've identified certain areas where existing trees are proposed for removal. Likewise, as part of the initial review, we are all well aware of the fact that the horn antenna represents an historic site that is on the National Register and the State Register of Historic Locations. And that includes one of the accessory buildings that services the horn antenna itself. The rest of the existing buildings there are in various conditions of deterioration, and most, if not all, have not been identified for any specific future use or rehabilitation. So we have proposed and identified for those accessory structures to be removed, some of which, it should be noted, are potentially attractive nuisances. There are a number of, I believe, 3 steel frame towers that were used at various points for different types of equipment. And it's been identified or suggested that, you know, the removal of those existing facilities will also make the safe ready for public use, as well as removing the fact that these have really reached, in almost all cases, the end of their useful life. Additionally, we've identified a significant cost involved in providing an upgrade to the existing access drive, as well as associated drainage improvements that come with any time we're looking at repaving existing facilities. We've also identified costs related to the installation of electric service that is specifically available to service the top of the hill, as well as provide some site lighting, particularly along the access drive for security purposes. We've also identified I think in almost every public comment that's been made, it has been suggested that there be some sort of an education center. From a more practical standpoint, it's proposed that whatever is constructed include restrooms for public use. We've identified a preliminary size of 2,000 square feet, subject to, you know, what may come in the future by the time the funding is actually in place, and based on perhaps more specific needs and the identification of really what the ultimate vision of the site is. Again, referencing the fact that it is proposed, these improvements are proposed really to make the place secure, safe, and ready for the next step. We've also identified costs related to the installation of water and sewer services, as well as what we anticipate to be the immediate need for some signage and site amenities. Again, I welcome any questions regarding the concept plan, as well as any comments that may be offered.
No, I think this makes sense to me, and I think, Jay, just to emphasize your point, this is basically the framework for a plan, right? This allows us to look at the property, I think, a little bit more objectively in terms of the structures and make it more palatable for whatever development takes place there, whatever that park becomes. Excuse me, didn't mean to imply development. For whatever goes there and how it's structured and what the paths are, et cetera, et cetera.
So, anticipating a question regarding the timing, let me also note that as part of the acquisition of this site, the township is the recipient of a $750,000, I'll call it a grant, for improvements to the site. This application is intended to leverage those funds, those private funds that have been made available to the township, utilizing that to match a potential Green Acres Green Acres development. So it's really, again, the same question of timing. This is the current cycle for Green Acres application, and this is an opportunity, given the fact that we have those additional funds available to us, this would be the appropriate time to move forward on this type of an application.
So net, just for the public's understanding, with the $750,000 coming via the transaction and the potential for a grant match, most of what you've laid out here can be covered. Right.
That is correct. And in fact, technically, we are requesting both a grant as well as a loan. We do anticipate, and we are requesting the maximum that's available under this grant program, which is $700,000, which again fits nicely into the match that we have available to us. And depending on, this project is also scalable in the sense that if we do not receive the full allocation of what is requested, we have the ability to get as much out of it as we can and do as much of these improvements. The balance would either have to be an attempt to receive additional other grants or fund it locally.
Thank you. At this time, I guess we can open up to public comment. Oh, sure, I'm sorry, yes, I apologize. Governing body first, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. So, thank you, Jay, for this. Just quick question. Was this done internally, or was it done with the engineers? I was just curious on the structures that are proposed on here, and I know this is preliminary.
Yes,
to be removed.
This was prepared in-house. This was an overlay of the existing survey of the property that was, I believe, dated about 2 years ago. So it reflects, the base map reflects the conditions, structures on the site approximately 3-4 years ago. Again, with just identifying the proposed demolition of those structures that are accessory to the primary use.
Okay, thank you. And then the water service, and I know electric. There is water service up there, or this would just have to be, like, I'm guessing, completely probably updated.
We anticipate two factors. One is that since this property is essentially being carved into two pieces, most of the existing utilities go through the existing portion that the township is not acquiring, and we do not have a complete mapping of all of the utility services, but frankly we anticipate that either we will have to install completely new, or what's there, new in the sense that it would be a new location, separate service, or what's there is of an age where it needs to be replaced or upgraded.
Thank you, Jay.
Anybody else on the committee have any questions? Before I open up to public comment, really quickly, hold on, I just want to acknowledge Rakesh Antala has come in, and we do want to thank you again for your partnership in this effort. As we announced earlier, we're excited to, have this become part of Holmdel's history, have this part of Holmdel's history become a significant part of our future. So, thank you. Mr. Blumenthal first. He's closest.
Thank you. Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I certainly want to also acknowledge this progress that you're making, and that's great. I would like to comment with regard to the hearing that we're holding right now. Three items I'd like to comment on. One, the process of the grant application. Another, some comments on the concept plan, and then on the budget for it. I'm unclear where we stand with regard to the grant application. I looked earlier today at the Green Acres forms and requirements, and what they indicate is you have to have a noticed public hearing as part of the grant process. But when you notice that, you also have to have the whole grant application publicly available, and that has not been made available. Also, there's supposed to be an environmental assessment, again, publicly available. We've received on the website 2 pieces of paper, and that's all. And I believe that does not meet the requirements for tonight to be a public hearing on this grant application. I leave that to you to work out. The Green Acres does absolutely want you, and indicates in more than one place that they want the Township Committee or those involved with this to seek community support. And hopefully that this may well be part of that process. With regard to the concept plan, to my mind, that plan as presented was seriously lacking. I was pleased to hear that Mr. Delaney indicated, you know, this is a first stage. It's really important to say that the ultimate park may well be the result of multiple stages. But in doing that, you want to have some sort of a master plan, which potentially should be worked together with the county, whose funding you're also seeking, and they want to be involved with that process. Items that, to me, appeared to be missing. There was no indication of anything with regard to public parking, because the lower lots all are going to go to Mr. Antala and the existing building. And the intent of the memorandum of agreement was to move the lot line so that those 2 lots both stay there and leaves no identified lot on the hill for any public parking. You certainly want to control the parking. You don't want people all over the place. The county high point, which you made mention to, or in the town high point, is not even identified on it, let alone potential plans for even the simplest of a monument and a bench. That's probably the cheapest part of the whole project.
Well, we're not just going to throw things up there, though, right? We want to make sure that, to the point that you made, Ralph, and I apologize for interjecting, I think, you know, what we want to be very, very mindful of, and I think the administrator had stressed it, and I want to stress it as well, this is essentially a clearing of the deck, right? This is a, how do we get this to a place, a starting point, so that we can get this to a place where we can build the right park around this monument. So I wouldn't think of it, and I understand your points, and they're well taken. To clear the decks and then just put a bench up there to say we did it isn't the way we want to approach it, though, right? And as we talked about, sort of the stages that we want to take. So again, I apologize for interrupting, but I just want to make sure that we stressed it enough that this is the starting blocks, guys. Like, there's going to be work to do. There's funding. There's effort. There's more conversations with community involvement, more conversations with the county, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, and lastly, one thing that's only partially on there, and I think has been a concern of everyone, to protect the horn antenna. And that means from some vandalism which has occurred, and a security fence might help that. But it's also a question of protecting it from the elements and from the weather. That's a more complex thing, but to my mind, that should, that is the key part of this whole project of the property, so that something sort of protection for the horn needs to be included in an initial phase of this project. Lastly, to my mind, a lot of the cost estimates are, I don't have the right word for it, crazy, ridiculous, laughable.
Think of a few words for it.
Yeah. For example, one of these structures, which I believe is in poor condition and probably needs to come down, is a maintenance building. That has functioning showers and water in it. So there is water up there. Moreover, although there was a septic field up there, 20-plus years ago. At the time, the force line from Bell Works going over the hill was put in the mid-90s. The two septic systems on the property, one for the building, which is down near the street, and the other up top, were replaced with connections to the township sewer system. Hence, for a 2,000 square foot building, a septic system isn't $200,000.
Well, I think, if I may, just for a moment, I understand your point. I think what's critical at this stage, and I'll let the administrator jump in, he certainly is welcome to correct me. What's critical is at this stage is to think about the worst case scenario and think about the funding needed for the worst case scenario. So while you may be 100% correct that some of these costs could be halved, what we don't want to do is have the wrong expectation and then have to find a way to find the money later. So we want to make sure that we have a sort of worst case scenario in mind from a funding perspective, and if we come into the good, all the better.
So I think, in particular, somebody needs to take a look at the existing utilities, and that could be easily done to see where you can connect. My understanding from Bob Wilson, for example, is one of the connections to a higher voltage power line is up on the hill rather than down at the street.
Ralph, we've had the property for like 6 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
But can I just, Ralph,
we'll get there.
Yeah, can I just cut in for a second? Jay, would you say that this is strictly for the purpose of the grant? This is not our engineering like paperwork, Ralph. So you have to understand that this is not, the official assessment of this property and the project. I think this is more for the purpose of strictly of applying for this grant.
But
Correct, Jay? And just correct me if I'm wrong.
But even for that, a person reviewing a grant sees a 2,000 square foot building and $200,000 for a septic system is going to laugh at you. It doesn't make sense. A residential septic system in Holmdel is $20,000, $30,000 to $50,000, not $200,000. So you want a grant proposal to appear to be sensible and.
Well, I think they know how to submit grants. They do it all the time, and they've been pretty successful. So
Yeah.
we appreciate your feedback, though, on that.
Yeah, last with regard to concept plan, I think there's lots more, people have had lots of thoughts, and I'm sure some of the other comments you'll get about other elements to include in this. And what I suggest is you need to sort of develop a longer-term master plan, and then divide out what needs to be done first, what comes step one, and then this should be step one, so to speak. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ralph. The gentleman in the red sweater?
Name is Sarbmeet Kanwal, 4 White Cedar Lane, Holmdel. I'm a physics instructor at Brookdale Community College, and some of you might remember that I was involved in giving comments on saving the horn antenna. So the first thing that I would like to do is to hugely thank the committee for what you have accomplished. I am really very, very appreciative of that. My comments today have to do with the ideas that were put forth for the Education Center. And I want to emphasize that what I'm going to say is in no way a criticism of the current plan that has been laid out. I understand it's very, very preliminary. What I wanted to do, though, was to put some thoughts and ideas in the minds of the committee members and others who are sitting here as a way to seed possibilities into the future. So in doing that, I'm going to be perhaps talking about things that might look a little bit grand, but at the same time, why not aim for the best and see what we can achieve with whatever budget and money that we can salvage. So the first thing I wanted to say is that the Education Center, whatever it turns out to be, has to be able to tell 2 very important stories associated with the horn antenna. The first story is the human story of how the discovery took place. That's a wonderful story. I'm sure many of you have heard it from Bob Wilson many times. The Education Center has to be able to present that story in some way. The second story, which is just as important, is the story of the evolution of the cosmos, which was revealed as a result of the discovery that was made at the horn antenna. That in itself is a very exciting and a story that's still evolving, and this education center ought to be able to find a way to tell the story to the people in as beautiful and best a way as possible. Now, there are many ways to tell these stories, and technology has advanced. We could actually start with the very structure that we decide to build on the site. That structure could be telling a story as well. Its shape, its form could reflect some of the history of the horn antenna. But I think one thing that has really advanced in the last decade or so is the ability to provide immersive experiences to audiences. I was in Europe over the Christmas break, and I was able to tour a lot of museums there, and I was absolutely stunned with the technology, the projection technology, LED, the sound and the light, and the incredible effects that they're able to produce. A subject like the cosmic story is a perfect example of what one could do by using that kind of technology, and I would very much emphasize that one ought to look into those possibilities and make this into something really grand and state-of-the-art. The other thing that as an education center, I think it should have room for a classroom kind of thing where students can be brought in, where they can be given certain material to perhaps even play around with, especially younger kids, to learn about the cosmology that we now understand and know. We could involve a lot of hands-on kinds of materials there. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of possibility, and in doing this, we could involve people that have experience with this. We have people here in the city that have experience, but we also have people in our neighborhood in New York City who have dealt with museums, and they really know how to deal with these kinds of things and introduce all kinds of special effects and things to do that. So that's the one thing that I think is important for this education center to house. The other thing that we should not neglect is that this particular scientific discovery has a spiritual aspect to it. After all, it is the discovery that actually has told us where we humans come from. And we should not neglect that, and we should also provide a way in which people who come to this site can reflect on that and be able to perhaps experience the fact that they're in the presence of an instrument that was actually involved in finding where our universe was born and how it was born. I am part of some science and spiritual organizations that actually do something called a cosmic walk. These things have been implemented all over the world, and what you do is you actually draw a kind of a spiral on the ground where you mark the main events that have happened since the Big Bang, and then you have people walk around that spiral and sort of feel those events in a certain way as they go around it. The third thing that I think is important is to honor the ground that the horn antenna is on. We should honor the indigenous people that owned and lived on this land a long time ago, and we should not just honor them because that's just an easy thing to do, but I think we should also involve them in some ways if we can, in order to help us design as to what is the right way to do. And the last thing I just want to say is that there are lots of people in the town and in this neighborhood that have valuable information that can be helpful to design the education center. I would propose that the township set up an advisory committee made up of volunteers, and I certainly would be very happy to volunteer for something like that, and that we should take that advice and use that to do the further planning, and I'm sure that that will go on for many years from now. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you for those excellent comments.
Zach Gilstein, 11 Chardonnay Drive. I just want to say it's really a thrill that you've actually accomplished this, and I was part of the Environmental Commission when we sent the letter to the Township Committee suggesting that you pursue acquiring this land and making it a park. So I think we're now on our way. It's really great to see that. I just want to start out by saying I'm strongly in favor of this ordinance and pursuing an open space, green funds funding for this. So obviously that's a great move forward. And I really appreciate all the progress you've made in creating a preliminary plan that I think deals with all the fundamental infrastructure that's necessary to get us started on the way to making a park. As the previous speakers have said, I do hope there will be more plans for making this a real go-to park for the township. Certainly the visitor center is the most important and crucial element to explain the significance of the horn antenna and the verification of the Big Bang Theory, as Sarbmeet has eloquently spoken previously. I know that there are also some walking trails on the property. I think it's important that we ensure that these are suitable for hiking and are improved if necessary. As this is the highest point in the county, there certainly needs to be some signage commemorating that fact, much like the other Wilson Park in the Highlands identifies that it's the highest point along the eastern seaboard. I also think there should be an observation deck, may have to be elevated so that you can see above the tree line to appreciate the grandeur of Holmdel and our county and the New York skyline. And toward all these ends, I, as the previous speaker mentioned, really recommend that you create an ad hoc committee of Holmdel citizens and folks who can really contribute to designing the elements of the park that will really make it the park that we'll all be the most proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yanello, and then the gentleman in the back.
I'm going to be really quick. I just want to congratulate you guys for doing that, and DJ in particular. I know this consumed a large part of your tenure as mayor, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. And thank you, sir, back there, for contributing. You guys should be very proud of this. And respecting DJ's comments that this is just a preliminary application for the grant, I do have to chuckle at the water service number, because as someone who did a substantial renovation on a house, to say a building is 420 and the water and service is 285, without trying to symbolize how, how complex it might be to get water up there, that's a pretty big number. I don't know, Jay, is there anything in particular that stands out that makes it that expensive? And I'm just trying to, sanity check.
Yeah, I think you hit the point, which is what was expressed to me was that, again, the change in elevation, the remoteness of that portion of the site, and actually getting, particularly if it's a new service, all the way from the street up to the top.
Okay.
Admittedly, when we, at this stage in a project, there is always a built-in expectation that, number one, prices change, and sometimes, particularly when there haven't been any full excavation or utility tracking done, you just don't know what you run into.
I get it. And as someone who put on and paying taxes on a 700 square foot raised patio, which is not that big, and I'm sure you've heard it, 2,000 sounds very small. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
R.G. Malonis, 2 Winding Brook Way, Holmdel, New Jersey. First of all, congratulations on getting this far with the property. I'm going to make it real short. If we have input, if we have questions, the public, rather than coming here and speaking, hearing our own voices, is there a place we can go? Is it the township administrator that we can say that if people have input, people have questions, people have ideas, they can send them?
I think, Jay, you compiled the book of responses we've received thus far, I think, for this. Maybe we do a special email address so that we know that we can go right to on this, that residents can hit up, and then we can distribute from there. not rmprivaduto at holmdeltownship.com.
Because I got to tell you, it's a lot more efficient if we're talking to the person actually involved than coming here every month and speaking.
No, it's fair, and I think the easiest way to probably collect that information would maybe just a special email address, a vanity email address that we can use, and then distribute the information more easily, so that it's not getting lost in anybody's inbox.
Right. So he's the guy.
Oh yeah. Are there any more public comments, questions?
I just wanted to add something real quick, if I can, Mayor. Jay, first off, thank you for getting this moving forward. As you said, it's a preliminary plan and everything. And then we also received another email this week from Barbara Kowaleski, who was looking into additional grants, found one that is specifically related to historic sites. So there is a ton of work to be done, as a lot of people mentioned. Again, like Rocco said, we've owned it about 6 hours now. there's going to be a lot of things moving forward. We really appreciate all the comments, and we're looking to make it a special site. We didn't go through all this the last year to just own the hill. There's going to be a lot of things that take place, but thank you, everybody, for the comments.
Mr. G, we were just about to close the show, man.
Thank you. Ken G, 8 Say Street. I just want to join in everybody saying, great job, guys, owning this thing, even in 6 hours. Just to get to this point, it's fantastic to be able to save that, and then obviously moving forward as a public park. And so, I just want to make sure for the record, I support the resolution to move forward with this for the grant. I know a lot of people have made a lot of comments, and I think one gentleman did say he support, but just for the record, there's at least 2 in support of this. You guys did a really great job, so I can't say enough. We want to echo everybody. But I just want to emphasize again that I know you guys did this very preliminary. This is for purpose of getting the grant and everything. But as someone who's gone through the Holmdel School here, we are unique in this thing, having this thing. There's only one site that discovered the Big Bang, confirmed the Big Bang Theory. This is taught in our schools. You guys heard the kids from Saks and others who came here. So you guys have the ability to do something really special. It doesn't have to be a 55,000 square foot, center like InfoAge or anything like that. But I do think that, 2,000 square feet may be a bit on the light side. Just think of the term, even education center. And it's more than probably just a exhibit hall where you got things on the wall hang, which is great. But don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. But perhaps something that's a little bit more interactive, something that involve a classroom or something with a tour guide or something. I'm sure you guys gone to Smithsonian and other fairly well-known museums where there are tour guides and special films or certain things like that. And it doesn't have to be huge, but you can have some kind of combination of training, educational center, along with exhibit halls or whatever. So I just want to emphasize that you guys, it's in your hands. You guys have this great opportunity. It's at the very beginning of that. So again, thank you, and we're in support of this.
Thank you.
Mayor, could I? Yeah. Well, you want maybe?
Any other public comments? Okay. Seeing none.
So I just wanted, thank you, Mayor. So just a couple things I wanted to mention that these are, from past conversations that we had last year. Couple things that I think because one of the big things with us is transparency, with the public. I could probably say that it's going to be more than 2,000 square feet, I would imagine, right? But we don't know that yet. Again, super preliminary. So I would say there's a good chance it'll be more than 2,000 square feet. I think that Ralph mentioned something about a master plan, using the county recreation, their services, the parks and recreation. And I guarantee you we are going to tap into those services. I think discussing and having them help us with a master plan is something that we was discussed, and I could see that happening. Don't get hung up on the numbers on what Jay was submitting, because again, this is very, very preliminary. And there was one other thing I'm trying to remember who mentioned it. I don't remember which one of you. I can't think of it.
The guy that said you worked your butt off on this all last year?
No. There was something else that I thought was important to kind of say. No, again, very preliminary. So all these things, all I'm trying to say is that all these concerns that we have. Oh, that was it. Possibly there would be an ad hoc committee or some type of a community input. Not guaranteeing that, but we will. I'm sure the mayor, the deputy mayor, and the committee would be supportive of having this community involvement and their comments and feedback will all be part of this process. So just wanted to kind of let everyone rest assured that no. But you'll have more comments later, Ralph, on the public portion. But again, I just wanted to kind of clarify that, or get that out there. Don't get hung up on what we're doing tonight. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's going to get done correctly and thought out, properly.
Yeah, and just to echo that sentiment, I hope, it's only been 2 township meetings, but you guys are getting a vibe from us that we're not looking to do things in isolation. so we're going to do our very best to make sure we get as much involvement and opinions as possible and as many things as possible, because we're up here representing you guys. And I do want to take just one additional moment. DJ, I thanked you earlier, but I was riding sidecar with you when you were working on this last year. Don't ever forget what could have been here, folks. Right? Had we not changed course, and that's due to the leadership DJ exhibited last year. So, we're all appreciative of that. So with that said, can we move on to make a move on this resolution?
Sure. For Resolution 2024-60, which is a resolution, Green Acres application, Crawford Hill, Holmdel Horn Antenna Park improvements.
Move.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay, 2024-60 has been successfully passed. Thank you.
Moving on to departments. Mr. Administrator, anything else?
But we really haven't been doing much since the first of the year. So other than looking at parks as well as dealing with storms, but let me just take this opportunity to just express my thanks to the governing body for the support that's been expressed for this project. And while it has been, I would describe it as informal, there has certainly been guidance that has been recognized, the guidance of the governing body over the course of the past year in at least letting us know that the vision is there for, again, sort of clearing the decks, and this will be the foundation for whatever concepts develop forward. Let me also just take this opportunity to acknowledge the fact that in the last 10 or 14 days, we've gone through a number of storms. I think the town fared well. We obviously, there were certain aspects of the storm that impacted certain areas of the community, but in general, all of our emergency services, including the police department, the volunteer fire company, first aid, the emergency management staff, and public works in responding to whatever came our way. So I just wanted to thank them all publicly for their efforts. Thank you.
Yeah, hear, hear. Mr. Antonides?
A couple items. The annual debt statement that's due to be filed with the state on January 31st was filed today, and it's now published on the township's website. Also, the annual financial statement, which is due up at the state on March the 8th, was also finished today, and that is published on the website. Also today, we borrowed $5,225,000 from ourselves to fund the temporary purchase of Crawford Hill. We did that with internal funding at 3.82%, so the interest rate is a little bit lower than the market rate, and also it saves us professional fees if you went out to the public.
Thank you, sir. I'm not sure, Mr. Collins, I think you're up next.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just one action item. I'm going to ask the committee if it would entertain a motion. It's to approve a resolution approving entry into a settlement agreement of litigation that's captioned as Township of Holmdel v. O'Donnell, Superior Court of New Jersey, docket MON-L-3034-21, pursuant to, as previously established, an executive session. Since it's a settlement, we can't comment on it publicly, but we do need to vote on it publicly.
We have a motion to vote on.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution for Township of Holmdel versus O'Donnell has been successfully passed.
Thank you, Mayor. That's the only item I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Engineer?
No comments at this time, other than looking forward to working with the committee in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to boards and committees. Who wants to go? Don't everybody jump in at once.
Thank you, Mayor. So just in case, I don't know if everyone knows, I am this year I'm the liaison for the public safety, public works. So first thing with the Holmdel Police Department, the Holmdel Township Police Department will be hosting its 3rd annual Citizens Police Academy. Information about the academy and registration will be posted in the department's social media later this week. The previous 2 academies were We're completely sold out, so the department encourages interested residents to sign up soon. Contact Captain Michael Piggott for additional information. There were 2 residential burglaries, one on Main Street and one on Hastings Road, which were both unoccupied and under construction at the time. Residents are asked to keep their eye on neighbors' houses who may be having construction done and look out for any suspicious vehicles, particularly a white Dodge pickup. There's also a cell phone theft ring. The department is also aware of this theft ring involving delivered cell phones, which are being stolen from porches, and we'd like to make you aware of this. While we do not yet know what connection or what these actors know, what is particularly in the package, what we do know is that the actors throughout the state have been stealing cell phones within minutes of them being delivered to residences left on the porch. If residents have cell phones being delivered to the residents, they should always be aware that someone may be in the area and look out for any suspicious vehicles. The Holmdel Fire Department, we've had responded to 512 calls in the service year 2023. The department has already responded to 40 calls for service this year so far. And regarding recruitment, the department has 3 members that have started the Firefighter 1 class at the Monmouth County Fire Academy. We anticipate that they will graduate in June. The department has 2 fire police applications pending and 1 firefighter application pending. Those interested in volunteering as a firefighter should contact the department via email. A member shout out, the Holmdel firefighter Nick Almonte. He's also a U.S. Marine Corps reservist. He's also a Holmdel Police Department officer, has been deployed to Cuba. The department is extremely proud of his service and looks forward to his return. The Holmdel First Aid. The Holmdel First Aid Squad congratulates its newly sworn-in officers. Their dinner was last week. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend. I know most of the committee attended. The squad offers thanks to the chiefs from its mutual aid towns, the Holmdel Fire Department, our OEM coordinator, and several members of the Holmdel Township Committee who were in attendance at their installation dinner. We also want to thank the individuals for their support. We also extend our thanks to their families and friends of the volunteers who so frequently deal with the daily interruptions and missed personal events the volunteer emergency response leads to. That's all I have for my reports. And then a couple other quick comments, Mayor. Again, I thank you for acknowledging my efforts last year in regarding Crawford Hill. I appreciate that recognition. But I also think it's important to recognize our attorney, Mike Collins. He was absolutely instrumental in the negotiations with Crawford Hill's legal team. Andy Bayer, also a special counselor. I'd like to give him a special thanks. But again, I think there was a lot of hard work and motivation on your part, and I wanted to acknowledge you on that and your efforts last year. Were a big part of where we got to tonight. So thank you, Michael.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Why don't we start from the end and bring it on over, Joe.
Okay, so this year I'm serving as liaison to the Board of Ed, Library, and Heritage Committee. Starting with the Board of Education's, congratulations to Holmdel High School on earning the College Board AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award for expanding young women's access to AP Computer Science and AP Computer Science principal courses. Holmdel High School is one of only 68 schools nationwide to be recognized in this manner. Holmdel High School Theater Honors. We have a group of 17 Holmdel High School theater students who participated in the 2024 New Jersey Thespian Festival last weekend. Student Zina Allen received a New Jersey Governor's Award for her work on the fall production of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. 2 other students, Katie Bauer and B. Young, received superior rating for their work, making them eligible to compete at the International Thespian Festival in June. The Model United Nations also received some honors, so congratulations to the Model United Nations students from Satz Middle School who competed in the 2024 Model UN Conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The SATS team featured 3 individual winners, Samvi Raj, Annabelle Cho, and Grayson Bell. Kindergarten registration is happening. Holmdel Public Schools will conduct kindergarten registration for the 2024-2025 school year soon. Information can be obtained on the district homepage. In-person registration will take place on Wednesday through Friday, February 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Village Elementary School. There was a cyber safety presentation with Holmdel Police. The district will host a cyber safety presentation for parents and guardians on Saturday, January 25th at 7 p.m. in the Complex Auditorium. Detective John McGuire of the Holmdel Police Department will deliver this important safety seminar for parents. Moving on to library. In the month of December, the library checked out over 3,400 items to patrons and had nearly 7,400 people visit the library. Over the course of calendar year 2023, we had 59,976 patrons utilize the wireless internet at the library, and 79,000 patrons visited the library overall. We have a new Taipei City display. So for the majority of December and January, the library displayed official gifts and cultural items given to Holmdel Township by representatives from the new Taipei City government. The monthly film at the library is Oppenheimer. That's this January. Display cases. Starting this month, patrons and residents will be able to make suggestions for items to be displayed in the Holmdel Township display cases. January through March will be a Lego architectural display. We can contact the library for more information. And the Holmdel Heritage Committee. The Jersey Shore Chinese School and Taiwan Center for Mandarin Center will host their annual Lunar New Year celebration on Sunday, February 4th at Bell Works from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. All members of the public are welcome. The Heritage Committee encourages the public to join this festive event to kick off the Year of the Dragon.
Thank you, Joe. Ms. LaMountain?
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Holmdel Environmental Commission, I want to start by sharing my condolences on the passing of Chris Yonklis. As many of you know, Chris was a longtime member of the Holmdel Environmental Commission, and he was an extraordinarily dedicated volunteer within our township. Some of the projects Chris participated in during his time with the HEC. He helped to build a bridge over the Ramnesson Creek, ensuring passage of the creek via the nature trail. He was instrumental in lobbying the County of Monmouth to remove silt from beneath the Middle Road Bridge. He also worked with the county to obtain a $1 million grant, which funded rain gardens at Holmdel High School and Village School, along with draining. Chris and his wife were residents of Holmdel for many decades, and I know I speak on behalf of my colleagues, my neighbors, in extending the sincere sympathies to his family and friends. And as well, his children have also been instrumental in volunteering their time within Holmdel. So thank you, Chris, for everything you've done for Holmdel, and again, our sincere condolences. You're going to be truly missed within Holmdel. The Holmdel Green team has continued to be working very, very hard. They are participating in an informational seminar regarding community solar in the end of February. They have been working on a grant application for funds to update our natural resources inventory. The last time it had been updated was in the year 2001, and what this inventory informs, it informs the work of the Township Committee and the various boards to know what should be included, what natural resource inventory is included in our master plan. So it's been some time since that has in fact been updated, and they're working on figuring out a procedure for that and potential grants to help with costs we'll experience with that. They've also been working with Holmdel schools, village school teachers on a project about sowing native seeds. They've also reached out to the Holmdel High School Echo Club to talk about future collaborations together. So they're really working very diligently in bridging their relationship with the students in town, which I think is fantastic. I love seeing the different generations working together on projects. If you'd like to stay in touch with the Green Team, as always, residents are invited and encouraged to attend any of the meetings. They are open to the public, and they can email Holmdel Green Team at holmdelgreenteam@gmail.com.
Thank you, Committeewoman. Deputy Mayor?
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of brief updates as far as the Recreation Committee. The Daughter Dance will be held on Saturday, March 2nd from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. and is open to residents in grades 3 through 7. The Sun Dance will be held on Sunday, March 3rd from 4 to 7 and is open to residents in grades 2 to 6. Both events will be held at Jocks Reception Center in Middletown, and the theme for both will be Starry Night. Registration can be done online at the Recreation Department Rec Desk registration page or by calling the Recreation Office. Space is limited in both events. I've never been to the Sundance. I've been to the Daughter Dance a couple times, and it is a great event. The girls all run around and have an absolute blast. The one time my wife went with two of our older sons, just my oldest son, he didn't run around and have a blast with my wife dancing. So not as much success as I had with my daughter at. But they are great events. Usually fill up and oversell, so please get out and get enrolled now if you want. The Senior Valentine Luncheon will be held on Tuesday, February 13th from 12 to 2 at the Senior Community Center. This is free to all residents 62 years or older. Participants will enjoy a hot buffet lunch and the musical sounds of DJ Mel Houston. Space for this is limited as well. Those interested in attending are asked to RSVP to the Recreation Office as well, and that phone number is 732-946-2820, extension 1225. The Holmdel Swim Club, information on the 2024 season at the swim club, as well as information about the 2024 summer recreation program, will be available soon. Stay tuned to the Rec Department webpage for more information. And I just want to make one correction from earlier in regards to the Cross Farm Park that is coming. It's actually going to be sand fill, not crumb rubber. Jay, Mr. Yanello, just to let you know that. Mr. Ward reached out to me in the middle of our meeting here just to confirm that for us. My condolences to the Young Class family. Anybody who gives back to town like that, or anybody in general, but certainly if you're here in an established part of this community like many of you are here in attendance, it's a loss for town. We were also going to have a proclamation this evening, which we postponed for Lynn Davis. So I'm just going to save my comments on that. Next time, we're hoping that some of her family members can be in attendance, as well as the EMS that she served on for so long. So that's all my comments for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Always forget that little button. I'm going to keep it. You guys have heard enough from me tonight. But very quickly, back in 2023, we did pass a resolution for a committee commemorating the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. Just as a reminder, the Holmdel Township Committee authorized the appointment of a committee to develop a plan for this commemoration and will coordinate with the federal, state, and county celebration committees and will promote the maximum involvement of our residents, neighborhoods, businesses, schools, historical and civic organizations, and institutions in the commemorations. So we are now announcing this evening that we're looking for members for the committee to adhere to this resolution, marking the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. We'd like any submissions to be sent in to our clerk, Wendy Petrovich, by February 2nd, and we would expect to appoint the committee at the February 13th meeting. So again, the anniversary is a few years out, but we're going to start planning early. So all that said, I think I'd like to move on to public comment, but I really have, I guess, one statement and one request. One is I want to acknowledge Dr. Robert Wilson has gladly joined us this evening. And I appreciate deeply his acceptance of our offer to name the park around the horn antenna after him as we get that up and running. And we just can't thank you enough for the contributions you've made, both to our community and to the fields of science you study. Well, and then my request for the audience is we're going to open up to public comment. I'd like Dr. Wilson, if he'd be inclined, to be the first to speak.
must say, I'm very pleased with the way the whole negotiation turned out with Crawford Hill. The previous owner, in some cases, was vilified. He didn't deserve that. And I'm glad that it worked out, that everyone's happy. I had an email from a girl from rural Brazil. Oh, is that not? Okay, I'll get closer. Yeah. I had an email from a girl from rural Brazil. Had sort of a long story about, as a kid, learning about the Holmdel horn and the work we did. And she later was at a summer school in Massachusetts and had an 18-hour trip to get here to see the antenna. And on her way, probably from the train station to the antenna, a Holmdel policeman stopped, started asking her questions. He didn't understand about the antenna, but he treated her very well. He took her there, he saw the signs, he was impressed too. I want to thank the Holmdel, I don't know who that policeman was, but he did his job very well. And I want to acknowledge that.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Wills. I apologize, I did miss one thing. Before we move to further public comment, Chief Alaco, is there anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to address while you're here? Okay.
Do you know who that officer was by chance? Put him in a lineup.
Mr. Yanella.
I think my time has been reasonable. I just want to say that with I said this before, but I want to say it again. With my finance background and everything, I really wasn't much into science. When I heard the whole roughage about Crawford's Corner, shortly after my heart surgery, I said, let me see what's going on. So I ran up the side of the hill, which was a bad mistake, because if you know that's, and I was like, what is all this? What's this BS? And I was in such awe. And so thank you for, again, finance background, I was like, wow. And so again, I'm glad we're here, where we are. I think, Mr. Lucarelli, I think you mentioned you mentioned the crime ring with cell phones. I've heard about this 4 or 5 months ago. They're being swept up shortly after they're delivered. I can't fathom why the carriers or Amazon can't figure this out by now. Do we have any idea why this isn't resolved? Someone has inside knowledge of this.
I don't have any personal knowledge. Maybe the chief can comment on that later, but this was more of just a public announcement for awareness that I was, speaking on.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. All right. Thank you.
You guys got to battle it out. Which one of you is coming up first? I don't want to get in trouble.
Hi, Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I just wanted to make everybody in the room aware that last night CELU had a wonderful presentation by Eric Hernando, who was our OEM volunteer. It was recorded, and it is, I understand, up on the CELU website right now. But Eric spoke for an hour with a wonderful slideshow detailing all the potential horrible things that could happen by way of emergencies around here, although he did discount any upshot of a volcano. We don't have too many around here. But he also went into the details of putting into your garage or basement or in your head an emergency package for the family in case for some reason you had to evacuate. It was quite fascinating and very timely, considering we just did have the first 2 snows in 700 days. We hardly knew what to do with it. So check out Eric's presentation, and you will find it very useful. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
I'm glad that Eric showed up and not Sharon.
I immediately noticed that, and I sent an email to the person who sends out the emails, and she said a poltergeist had gotten into her computer.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Just to follow up to your comment with regard to potentially having an advisory committee with regard to Crawford Hill, I think you might want to take this maybe one step further in that oversight of the ongoing plans for Crawford Hill, and not just the plans, but the operation, if we in fact have a learning center, if we have some kind of an education program or whatever, that may be a longer term thing. Hence, one may want to, in fact, create a nonprofit. And I've been told that a plus of that is that some philanthropic entities, corporations, would prefer to donate to a nonprofit so that the funds are set aside and not simply say, make a donation to the township. So, again, this is a bigger thing, and one may want to think through what one structures, how, again, for not just this year, but for time going forward.
Ralph, I just submitted your application to be on the committee.
Well,
I thought he was the one that was going to write the check.
No, I mean, when for something like this, you're going to want not just different people from the town, but you also want to bring in different skills. Someone who's familiar with setting up an exhibits, museums, operating a park. There's all kinds of different skills that may come in, and operating an education program that may come in. You may want to get someone from the high school, their science advisor, who was at a program over at AT&T recently where Bob Wilson spoke, and who was advising some of the high-track students. And it's a whole different set of circumstances, and hence one may want to think differently about how you structure it, who's involved. You may need to bring in some professionals, museum planner, graphic designers, all of the above. I mean, don't be open-minded, in short, as to how to think about how to make this whole thing a really unique and wonderful thing for Holmdel, for Monmouth County, for New Jersey.
I can guarantee you we didn't come this far to mess it up now. Mr. Gilstein.
Zach Gilstein, 11 Chardonnay Drive. In addition to appreciating all the work that the committee has done on this, I just want to acknowledge the work that CELU and Preserve Holmdel and FOHOS did on creating a lot of public awareness of the need to preserve this antenna, and the over 10,000 people who signed the petition. I think you've made a lot of people very happy in the world that we actually got this done today. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I, one request, and Zach, I really do. I think we all really appreciate your sentiments. I have one request. If there's any more of those signs up, can you take them down? I think I still see them here and there. Any other public comment? Mr. Emma.
Ron Emma, 32 Ledwood Drive. I just wanted to go on the record with the new township committee. DJ, you know, one of my issues last year was the potential study for a paid hybrid potential fire department. I understand you had a lot on your plate last year with the horn antenna. You have Vonage coming up. You have the horn antenna again this year with what's going to be coming down the pike. I just don't want any traction that was made to be lost, because I do believe it's a very important study that needs to be done as far as the potential to look into a partially or full paid fire department. And what I'd like to ask tonight is, now that we have a full new committee in 2024, that I have your commitment that it is maybe not the first priority, but at least it's on the agenda. So I ask you, Mayor, I ask you, DJ, as the public safety guy who did some background last year. I know you had other stuff pressing. I totally get it. but I don't want it to get lost. So can you please commit that this will be on the agenda for this year? Thank
Yes.
you. That was, yes, the committee's committed?
Yes, DJ will commit to it. No. No. Yes, no, that we will absolutely keep that as a priority.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
R.G. Malonis, 2 Brook Way, Holmdel, New Jersey. Was here before. I'm also on the executive board of CELU, and what we did is resolved to take down the signs when the township took ownership of the property. So you might be happy.
All right, the clock's ticking. We got it now.
Well, it's
6 hours already.
That's not crazy, but yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Trisquita.
I'd like to commend Mayor Improviduto and Mayor Lucarelli, as well as the entire Township Committee, for the first ever secular invocation in Holmdale's 167-year history that took place at the reorganization meeting on January 7th. The Constitution requires all government activities to be secular. Secular does not mean that they favor one religion over another, nor religion over non-religion. Captain Ken Smith, commanding officer of the Naval Weapons Stations Earl, delivered an inspiring and inclusive message to all people of Holmdel. This should continue to be the model for invocations at all government meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, and we certainly appreciate Captain Smith's invocation and his willingness to do so. We're pleased to have him on board at Earl, and he, of course, is a supporter of all the work we do and will continue to do for our veterans here in Holmdel. So, thank you. Any other public comments? Going once, going twice. Closed. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?